This training video goes over the custom reporting feature that's available in most of the Switch applications. Custom reporting is a section of the application that allows the end user to create reports based on their desired dimensions and measures. Custom reporting is something that allows an end user a lot of power, as there are about 200 dimensions and about 50 measures available in each of the applications. This is something that's not usually typically available to an end user, so it is important to understand the data and also to filter the data first before using this section of the application. The first thing that we are going to cover are the dimensions. Dimensions are available in a variety of categories here. The first is all. All has every dimension available to the user in this section. It can be overwhelming to use it if you do not know what you're looking for. So the dimensions are also broken down into a variety of categories. Popular includes most of the dimensions that are typically used in reports, as well as a few other categories such as provider, date fields, payer fields, and so on and so forth. You can search through the dimensions by opening a category, or you can use the magnifying glass and type in something to search for. So for example, if I type in the beginning of the word provider, you can see the results show up in a variety of categories. You can see the categories are highlighted in yellow. Simply open a category and select the item that you would like in your report. Within each of these dimensions, you have a variety of, within each of these categories, you have a variety of dimensions, and some of them are obvious. Billing provider is something you would know what it is. That said, many of them are things that are not as common as billing provider. The definition for each of these is provided. If you scroll over the name and hold the mouse still, you'll see the definition of each of the items show up. Finally, in the dimension section, there is also a filtering ability. If you go to the right of each of the dimensions and click on the funnel icon, that'll bring up the filters functionality, and you can filter your report as needed. The measures have similar capabilities, where you can go through the category of all to search for things. You can use the magnifying glass to type and look for your results that way. And also, instead of a filter, the measures have a summation sign. The summation sign lets you turn on and off the totals functionality on the report. For this example, I'll turn on the totals for charges, and we'll also look for payments and not turn the summation sign on for the payments. After selecting your desired categories, hit Update Layout, and the report will render in a table format. You can see here that charges have the summation sign turned on, and you can see the totals here. For match payments, you do not. One thing to note is that the totals is an on-screen functionality only. It is not something that exports with the chart. There's a variety of things that you can do to the table after you have generated it. You can sort, you can change the sort by clicking on the dimensions and measures. Note that I changed the alphabetical order when I selected the billing provider. I can sort by any of the measures by selecting the measure, and you can see that it is now sorted. You can also clear. You can clear either a single measure or dimension, or you can clear them all. So for example here, if I wanted to clear the match total payments, I can simply hit the X button and clear the report. If I wanted to clear all of the measures or all of the dimensions that are in the report, I can hit these square boxes with the X inside to clear all of the items. You're also able to sort within, or you're also able to filter within the chart. So I showed you the ability to filter within the dimensions. If you have already rendered your chart and you would like to change things, you also have the ability to filter this way as well. It's important to know your data when you are trying to generate a report. There are a lot of different categories in here. There's a lot of different measures and dimensions that interact in different ways. So it's important to look at the definitions and make sure you fully understand things before you try to generate a report. In this example, we are going to look at visit count. Visit count is defined as as the distinct combination of an MRN, service date, and billing provider. And in this example, we have a single bill area, a single billing provider, and a visit count of 4. That said, adding additional fields that may interact with that definition of visit count can change the results. For example, a visit, while it has a single billing provider by definition, can have multiple service providers. So if we add a service provider to this report, we can see that 3 of those 4 visits had 2 service providers. So this provider provided a service in all 4 of those visits. This provider provided a service in 3 out of those 4 visits. If we add procedure code, we can see a further breakdown. That said, because a single visit can have multiple providers or service providers or multiple procedure codes, we can see that the visit count is inflated. The system is intelligent enough to not double count them in the totals. That said, if you export this chart, and then use this data outside of the Switch application, and for example, sum this data, we can see that the sum shows 12, and that is obviously not accurate. So be mindful of how your data interacts with each other and what the definitions of your dimensions and measures are before generating reports. Within the reports is a ability to turn on and off $0 items. So in this example, we have bill area, billing provider, and charges. And we can see the charges for each of these billing providers. And if we sort, we can see that many of them have a $0 charge. If you want to exclude the $0 charges from the report, you would simply right-click in the report and hit include 0 values on or off. By default, the 0 values are on in your report, but you can easily turn them off. And you can see anything that has $0 or a 0 count as the measure result will disappear. Another thing that you can do is copy. You can either copy a table or copy an individual item. So for example, if I wanted to copy this provider's name, I can right-click on the report, hit copy, and then copy the individual result. You can see down below that the item was copied to the clipboard. You're also able to copy an entire table up to 10,000 lines. If I want to copy the entire table, I would right-click on the table, hit copy, and then hit copy table. It takes a few seconds, and you can see that the rows were exported. Then you can click copy to copy table to clipboard, and it'll be available for you to paste into another application. If you need to copy a table that is larger than 10,000 rows, you'll need to download it. To download it, you right-click on the table, go to the Download As button, and you can download the table as an image, a PDF, or export the data. If you export the data, it'll take a few seconds for this link to generate, depending on how big your table is. And you can click the link to download your table to Excel. Besides straight tables, there are a few other items that you can make in the custom reporting application. The first being a pivot table. In this example, I have financial subdivision, bill area, and charges. I can go to the chart table or the chart button, and by default, it renders as a table, but I can click on pivot table and update the layout. You can see here By default, the first dimension shows up on the left, the second dimension shows up on the right. I'm able to change this table by dragging and dropping things. And you can change the pivot table to look how you would like it to render. You can right click, go to pivot table, and again, change more of the view. You can fully expand the rows. And now that you can see the totals and then the subtotals for each of the bill areas beneath that. You can indent the rows on and off. If you do this, it goes into two separate columns and your totals have turned off. You can also change the sort. If you wanted to sort by measure, you can do that. You can sort by default, which is by the first division or the first dimension here. And you can export this table. One thing to note is that it does export how you have it on the screen. So if you have something fully expanded, as I do here, it'll download as a straight table, fully expanded. If you have it collapsed, it'll download like that. The next visualization that you can use is a scatter chart. In this example, I have our bill area, charges, and visit count. I can come up to the chart button here, switch to a scatter chart, update the layout, and you can see the various bill areas and their total visit count and their total charges. You can arrange the orientation of the measures, update the chart, and you can see that now visit count is on the y-axis. Scatter charts are good to find outliers. So for example, in this case, we can see that this bill area charged the more than any other bill area in fiscal year or in calendar year 2021. We can see that this bill area here had the greatest visit count. So depending on what measures you are using, it's an easy way to see outliers. The next item you can also work on in the custom reporting is a combo chart. So in this example, I have our financial subdivision, our bill area, and charges. If I go to the chart button and hit combo chart and update the layout, you can see that the chart renders in a bar chart. You're able to turn the value labels on and off by right-clicking on the chart, going to combo chart, and in this case, we are rendering in bars, so I can hide or show the bar labels. I'm going to turn those back on. You're also able to sort by a variety of things. So if I wanted to sort by a financial subdivision, I can come down to the dimensions, look for financial subdivision, right click on it, and then sort by either a to Z or a Z to A sorting. You can also sort by your measures by doing the same function, right click on the measure, and you can sort by ascending or descending. In this next example, we have two dimensions, one being a time-based dimension. I can again go to the chart button, hit the combo chart, update the layout, and we can see we sort by default by the first measure and then the second measure. So we have our year and then all of the divisions compared to each other within that single year. Previously, in the last example, I had sorted by the charges, so we are sorted by the highest charge amount. If I wanted to switch that, I could go to the charge post calendar year and sort the years by ascending, and now we are in chronological order. By switching the order of the dimensions, the chart drastically changes. So originally we had sorted by charge post date and then financial division, and we were comparing the single division amongst the various years. By switching the order, we can now compare the division to itself for the multiple years. So now you can see a running track for each of the divisions. So it's a good way to use the same data and render it in different ways. The final example I wanted to show you is another way to use the graph using line charts and bullet points rather than the bar chart. In this case, I'm going to use charges and charge lag with a single dimension and go ahead and update that chart. And I'll go back and pick the combo chart again. So by default here, we can see the charges on the left-hand side and the charge lag on the left-hand side. Because these measures don't interact well with each other, they don't really make sense to be on the same axes together. So you're able to come down to either of the measures and move them to the second axis. You click on the chart icon on the right-hand side, and we can render the charge lag in a line and then move it to the secondary axes. Now you can see that charge lag has moved over to the right-hand side and is rendering in a better view. You can also change how those lines look. You can change it to a marker. And you can turn the values on for a line graph as well. So if I wanted to right click on the chart, click combo chart, and then show hide the labels, we can now see the labels on the report. Sometimes it does make sense to have things on the same axes. So for example, if we wanted to compare charges and let's say payments, we can do that. And by default, the payments have rendered on the same axes in a line graph. If I wanted to view those both in bar, I can change it to a bar chart. That about wraps up the custom reporting. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at info@switchrcm.com. Thank you.